Hi guys. So I'm pretty excited to share some dreams I had with you last night. And I also received an email that I want to share with you as well at the end of this video. But you guys, I'm going to get right into it because I got to work in a little bit and I still have to take a shower. So last night I went to bed probably about 1 o'clock, but I tossed and turned till probably 3:30. But I know as soon as I fell asleep, I started dreaming and I felt like I dreamt all night long. So when I woke up this morning, of course, I tried to remember everything that I dreamt, and I want to share with you guys what I remember. The first thing was I was in a church, and I was sitting in the middle of a pew in the middle of the church. And the usher had handed out the church bulletins. And I just remember looking around and everybody was looking at their bulletin. And I got my bulletin and I opened it up and there was a card in there with my name on it. And if you guys have ever received them in the mail, those insurance cards, and you just kind of got to pop it out, that's kind of what it was. You opened it up and you had to pop this card out. I popped my card out and I stood up on the pew and I knew that I had to leave. And I was in such urgency to leave. I knew it was time to go. And instead of saying excuse me to everybody and getting out that way, I had to jump over the pews and the whole church was full. And I just remember everybody was laughing at me. And so I jumped in the pew behind me, and then I kind of had to go down 2 or 3 people, and then I'd stand up on that pew and jump over the pew, and then go to my left a couple, and it just kept on going for about 7, 8 pews, and then I was at the back of the church, and then that's pretty much all I remember of that dream. The second dream I had was I was in a combine tractor and I was going down this gravel road. And I remember the fields were to the left of me and to the right of me, but in the middle of the gravel road was fish. And I knew that the combine was picking up these fish, and I could see them kind of scattered, but they were right in the middle. And so there was like 2 or 3 fish in one little pile, and then about 3, 4 feet ahead of that one was another 3, 4 feet in front of that was 2 or 3 more. I got to the end of the road and there was no more fish. I could see that there was no more fish and I was at the end of the road. And I jumped out of the combine and there was a gentleman standing there and he said, the harvest is done. He said, it's time to go home. And then he handed me a couple granola bars. And I don't know why he handed me granola bars, you guys, but I just thought that was odd of the dream. And then that was the end of the dream. So my alarm went off about 7:30, you guys, and I was so tired that I kept on hitting the snooze button. But I believe it was probably the third time I hit the snooze button. Right before I woke up, I heard my grandpa's voice. My grandpa's name is Leroy, and it means king. And I heard him say, Chanda. And you guys, I don't remember dreaming. Again, it was audibly, but I know that I turned around and I was telling somebody, I said, it's time to say goodbye. And as soon as I said that, I felt this sweetness in my spirit, and then my alarm went off. So I got up, I woke up, my alarm went off, and that startled me enough. And I sat up and I thought, what in the world? And I just had this panickiness that something big just happened. And I grabbed my coffee and my husband was already up. And I didn't even sit in the recliner, you guys. And my husband said, you were dreaming a lot last night, weren't you? And I said, yes. And he said, do you remember what you said? And I said, no, I'm still trying to remember my dreams. He said, well, you said it's time to sound the alarm. And I was like, I did? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, I got to tell you my dreams. And then as I sat down and took a sip of my coffee, he said, guess what? And I said, what? He said, Billy Graham died. And I was like, oh, wow, he did? And as I was waking up, you guys, I remembered, and I looked at my husband and I said, I'm like 90% sure somebody had a dream that said that when Billy Graham dies, the rapture is going to happen soon after that. And I said, I can't remember for the life of me who did that video because it was quite a while ago. But I'm like 90% sure it was Billy Graham. So I continued with my coffee and I was telling him my dreams. And I picked up my computer and decided to look at YouTube, knowing that everybody on the planet was going to do a video about Billy Graham. And the second one I come to, and I kind of said a little prayer to the Lord. I said, Lord, show me who that person was that had that dream, or have somebody do a video about it, because I really want to know if it was Billy Graham. And the second person that I had watched was Yehuda Glick from Israeli News. And he did a video pretty much immediately this morning. And he reminded us of that dream that he had. And he was the one that had the dream that said, as soon as, like, in the dream, he said that people were getting ready for the rapture. And then Billy Graham passed away. And then the rapture was going to happen. And then, of course, there's probably 100 more videos on Billy Graham, and I did not watch them, you guys. But something prompted me to look Billy Graham's. I was watching the 700 Club, about the story about Billy Graham, and it showed his birth date of November 7th, 1918, and something prompted me to look it up in Strong's. And I looked at my husband and I told him, I said, I feel prompted to look it up in Strong's, but I don't think Strong's goes up to 36,000, because I had went to the calculator on the computer and put in the date that he was born and then the date he died. So that was 36,266 days. So I went to Strong's and it had this button. It said King James Version, and then you just punch in the number, and I punched in 36,266. It came up Alpha and Omega, and it gave the scripture, I'm the Alpha, Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. And so then I punched that into Strong's, and of course there was no results found, and I just felt there was more to it. So my husband, I just said, I feel like I need to be looking something up. There's something that I need to find. And my husband said, why don't you add up those numbers and see what you come up with? Which, if you add 3 plus 6 plus 2 plus 6 plus 6 is 23. So I punched that in Strong's. And in the Hebrew Strong's, it means father of gathering. Okay, you guys. Well, I've felt 23 for quite some time. And if you guys remember, quite a few videos back, maybe 5 or 6 videos back, I shared about, I felt like the Lord prompted me to count 153 days from the Revelation 12 sign. Back then I had received 153 fish, and then so many other people came forward and said the same thing. They felt like the Lord was leading to something that had to do with the 153 fish. And I sat on this for a while, you guys, but then I felt like I had to count from the Revelation 12 sign, which I did, which brought us to February 23rd. This morning when I was watching Yehuda Glick, I was reading the comments as well, and somebody commented about it being the 52nd day of the year. And I went, oh my gosh. I said, I had received 50 in 2 days back in June. And I really didn't know. And I've told you guys before, the Lord gives me things, and there's months and months and months that goes by before I get an understanding. And I still don't understand it, you guys. But back in June, I received 50 in 2 days. So when I saw that it was the 52nd day of the year, I thought, is this a huge sign from the Lord that the rapture is truly upon us? You guys, I'm not sure, but it was just like a wow factor to me. And then the dream, of course, with getting 153 fish, bringing us to February 23rd. And I shared in my last video about that I had a dream about the storm. The storm was here. And then like 2 days later, then I hear about this storm Noah. And that was on the 16th, 17th. So if we get the 7-day warning, that would bring us to February 23rd. So you guys, I'm going to end this video with an email I received from a lady named Taylor. And I asked her to get a little bit more specific, so I'm not sure if it was a dream or a vision. But what she saw, she said she felt like she got a glimpse of heaven. And she saw millions of angels encircling the earth with trumpets. And Jesus was standing at the door. She said there was no walls, but there was just a door. And he said, "We're all waiting." And then she also said she saw Jesus saddling a white horse. So I believe with that, you guys, the Lord is just speaking loud and clear that we need to be sounding the alarm. I don't remember saying that, but my husband said that I said that. And then just I feel like with the first dream, um, I don't know if it's I got my card for citizenship to heaven. I'm not sure. The second dream, the harvest is done. I got my fish and they were all harvested, and the gentleman said the harvest was done and it was time to go home. And then hearing my grandpa's voice, he just said Chanda. And the only reason I'm bringing this up, you guys, is because Leroy means king. And then I turned to somebody and I said, um, it's time to say goodbye. And you guys, I did feel like this bittersweetness in my spirit. So as soon as I woke up, I was excited. I was just like, you know how you are when you wake up, but I received bam, bam, bam. And it was just like, whoa, and then Billy Graham thing. And I know a lot of people are doing videos, and I had to work today, so I didn't get to watch them all. So as soon as I get everybody in bed tonight, of course, I'm going to catch up on everything that everybody's talking about Billy Graham. I believe I watched one other video because Yehuda was my second video I watched, but the first one I believe was from J.K. Bugout, and there was another gentleman that had prophesied that too. That was probably the last sign that we were going to get of Jesus's soon return was Billy Graham's death. So I'm going to, like I said, get on there tonight after I get everybody in bed and kind of catch up and see what everybody is saying. If you guys have anything significant about that, just leave it in the comments. And if you guys know anything about the granola bar too, I don't know why the granola bar was handed to me, but there was quite a few, I think probably 6 or 7 granola bars he gave to me. So anyways, I just wanted to share that with you guys, and I will talk to you guys later. Take care and God bless.